Hey guys, welcome back to the Bleacher Preachers podcast. It is Johnny Boy back with an episode of our NBA centric show, the 4 Point Play, but might be changing it real soon. Tonight I got Rob with me.
What up?
And Rob, me and you decided last night there's far too much news and events in the NBA on a nightly basis for us to leave this much time in between. So start looking out for weekly episodes, talking hoops, rumors, Twitter shenanigans, anything going on that relates back to the NBA, we're going to be on it this season. So, to jump right into our first storyline, the dysfunctional Washington Wizards. They continue to baffle both of us with having two all-star caliber guards, and yet they can't even beat the Orlando Magic. Tonight, the Wizards did end up losing another frustrating game to Orlando, and it's starting to look more and more evident that this team just needs to start over. And I know me and you touched on it last episode, Rob, but realistically, if you're Washington, who goes first?
I would probably say Brad Beal because I think he'd bring back more in a trade. But I would trade Brad Beal and John Wall. I'd probably trade Otto Porter too, but I don't think you'd get anything for Otto Porter. I trade the Morris. I don't know about Oubre. I'd probably keep Oubre. Austin Rivers makes like 13 million a year, so I don't know if you can find somebody to take Austin Rivers, but I trade Austin Rivers. Jan Mahimi. No, you probably can't trade Jan Mahimi's contract, but I would clear house. One of the trades that I thought of that I think works out would be for Houston to Minnesota to get Brad Beal and all of the first round picks that Houston was offering to go to Washington. That's something that I thought about. And John Wall, it's not really a lot of teams that need a point guard, but need a point guard to where they would give up much for John Wall. I think John Wall's stock has fallen. I don't think his shot has gotten better at all since he's been in the league. I don't think his defense is as good as what it was a couple of years ago. There's some injury risk there as well. John Wall's stock is really plummeted. A team like maybe Phoenix would probably use John Wall, but there's not really a lot of point guards on Phoenix's rosters to begin with. And if you're Phoenix and getting John Wall, you're not really. I don't really think Phoenix is trying to make the playoffs this year. I think they're trying to build to eventually make the playoffs, but going out and getting the John Wall accelerates that timetable in the West. I don't know about that.
Well, and like we mentioned with Washington before, they're 2 years removed from a deep playoff run with the same general core. They never really upgraded much else outside of assuming their players would get better on their own. But like you said, John Wall really hasn't progressed outside of being super athletic, when he's engaged and feels like it. We've seen Bradley Beal, finally become an all-star. So we know he would fetch a good return, but I just need Washington to realize, like, what more do you like? Your team doesn't even get along on the court, never mind behind the scenes now. That this is a move that may need to happen sooner than later before guys either get injured or lose out on their stock value.
Yeah, the Wizards are 2-8. I mean, it's about time to blow it up, man. There's with a lot of reforms now, being the worst three teams in the league, you get an equal amount of shot at number one pick. There's a lot of good college prospects coming out in that top 5, top 7 range. So, you're going to be getting a good pick. I'd probably build for the future. I know the East is a little bit wide open just because LeBron isn't there anymore, but there's still, 3 or 4 or 5 young teams there that are going to be there for the foreseeable future. I would try to get some assets, but with Washington, Scotty Brooks, and that fan base, they're looking to win now. Just throwing it into a different sport, hockey. That Washington team won the Stanley Cup. It revitalized, the city. It bringing a championship there. Washington's hungry to have a team to bring back some glory. Look at what the Nationals did this year. Now the Wizards are falling off. Like it's not really a lot going on in the city.
No, I think that's a good point because now that the attention's kind of back on them to deliver, they had a chance to at least make some form of a run and just never materialized. So Speaking of team drama, we'll check in on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jimmy Butler still showing up when he feels like it. We're pretty much convinced, though, he has taken all of Karl-Anthony Towns' confidence because he has looked like a shell of himself this season, and it's not what we expected from him now in year 3?
Year 3, I believe. Actually, I think it's year 4.
And I think like what's frustrating about Karl-Anthony Towns is he has the skill set and the build to thrive in today's NBA, but there are just so many frustrating nights when he just doesn't either seem engaged or, pushes himself to be any better.
Year 4.
Oh, it is year 4. So even that being said, year 4, we are expecting, a borderline top 10 player at this point, but I just don't see it with Karl.
It's night and day. There's on the floor versus Jimmy Butler off the floor. I've seen a couple of games with Jimmy Butler on the floor. I've seen the Laker games. I saw both Laker games because they were nationally televised. So with Jimmy on the floor, he just like stands in the corner. We saw it last year where he stood in the corner a lot, especially in the fourth quarter, and he just kind of just let Jimmy do Jimmy. But I don't know with Towns, like he's just so frustrating to watch. Like I was literally yelling at my TV screen the other night when they were playing the Lakers. 1, because I traded for him in fantasy, and 2, because it was just frustrating to watch.
And I think it's frustrating because you being a Bulls fan, you saw probably the best of Jimmy Butler, and he's just like almost choosing not to go back to that level again.
Jimmy's up there. Jimmy still hoops. When Jimmy's on the floor, Jimmy hoops. Like that, there's nothing wrong with Jimmy. It's Towns when Jimmy's on the floor. Like and Derrick Rose is coming back, and Derrick Rose looked great against the Lakers. He was getting to the basket. He was finishing both hands. He hit 7 threes, a career high. So, like, there's still a lot of talent on the Bulls team. Like Taj Gibson had like 20 points, and he made like 3 or 4 threes. Like there's still a lot of talent on the Timberwolves. Like I don't know why they're not, winning games. I don't know why they're not, they're under 500. Jimmy's missed a couple of games. Wiggins had like 18 in the first half against the Lakers, and they had 2 points for the rest of the night. I think he only took 2 shots for the rest of the night. I really didn't see him. Like they should be a lot better than what they are.
Well, and definitely what the Timberwolves' point is, you pretty much have all the talent on paper that you need, and whether it be the off-the-court drama or, guys just underperforming, there's still plenty of time for them to figure this out. So if they're going to commit to certain players, I think they need to do it as soon as they can and, like, try and get rid of as many of these distractions that they've had so they can actually focus on the on-court product and not be, buried in trade rumors and this one's unhappy and this guy doesn't get along with that guy. And what was kind of buried, a story about Jimmy Butler letting Tyrus Jones, you getting a private plane to go see his family play. Like, this has been the most helter-skelter 2-week stretch I've seen from a basketball team.
I feel like if Jimmy likes everybody except Cat and Wiggins, I think like that's just what it is. It's like Jimmy, like he probably likes everybody else on the Timberwolves except Cat and Wiggins. And it's like not like Cat's having a bad year. Like he's averaging 18 and 10 with 2 blocks, a steal, and 2 assists. He's shooting 90% from the free throw line. He's shooting 40% from the field, 40% from 3. Like, as a 7-footer, as what is he, 23? As a 23-year-old, like that's crazy. But like when you see what he did in like 2 years ago when he was 25 and 15, it's like that's the Cat that we want to see. And he's just having a down, disappointing season. But I mean, he's still putting up a good stat line. So like if you were anybody else in the league, you would take 18 and 10 with 2 blocks. Like.
So moving on to a team that's a little more than functional, the Golden State Warriors continue to break basketball. They've definitely reached the unfair point.
Except yesterday.
I was going to say, well, except for last night where Milwaukee came into Golden State and just ran them out the gym. So once again, the Milwaukee Bucks still giving the Golden State Warriors problems. So that, could be something to look forward to come the summertime. I don't know. But on the Warriors right now, when they're all go, when it's all 5 starters, it's just a matter of when the hammer is going to come down. We see it with Steph Curry still putting up astronomical shooting numbers. Klay Thompson feels like breaking shooting records when he feels like it. And then there's Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors, they're pretty much just putting up what they're capable. Like they're firing on all cylinders. Last night notwithstanding. Last night, I think Steph picked up an injury. Steph's not gonna play next game. If it was a playoff game, he'd probably go. Last night against Milwaukee, Draymond didn't play. Steve Kerr said if it was a playoff game, Draymond would be playing. So, they just have the luxury of resting all their guys. Boogie's not even back yet. So, I mean, they're just going to keep on ticking on.
And I think that's what should frighten the NBA is that they'll take night offs when they need to, but as soon as they get all the Infinity Stones back on the gauntlet, it's done.
One of the things that happened last night against Milwaukee was the threes weren't hitting and pouring down as they normally do, as well as they did not take care of the basketball at all. They turned the ball over a lot yesterday. They turned the ball over a lot, and they didn't stop Milwaukee from scoring, so they didn't get out in their run. So that's something that I know you're not going to be able to force, but that's something that you would probably try to do on a 7-game basis. Is try to slow the pace down so they go a little bit more ISO. Try to force turnovers because they are turnover prone. They get a little Harlem Globetrottery. They try to make the crazy passes to amp the crowd up and hit crazy threes. So, it can be done. Especially in like a final settings with like something like Toronto or somebody like Boston that can probably match up physically. That might be something that.
And I think it's just going to be a matter of time when we do get to see those matchups, but the Warriors are going to keep rolling on, and then they're going to add a Boogie Cousins along the way. So everybody run for cover while you still can. Speaking of top-seeded teams, just going to shift it over to the East for a bit. We mentioned Milwaukee going into Golden State and, putting up a hell of a performance. I believe that was a 20 or it was a double-digit win. I can't remember the margin off the top of my head, but it got me thinking, what would be Milwaukee's chances of pushing Toronto as the top seed in the East with the way things are shaping up right now?
I think Toronto has more depth, and I think that's probably what's going to win it. Now, that's not to say Milwaukee doesn't have a chance. Milwaukee has a good chance. Chris Middleton is really good. Chris Middleton is really, really good. If Eric Bledsoe plays the rest of the season like he played last night, they're going to be the number 1 seed. And Giannis is Giannis. Brook Lopez is hitting threes. Like Brook Lopez is a sharpshooter now. Ersan Ilyasova helps them. Like they're not particularly deep, but the people that they have fit a role.
And I think that will actually pay off for them once people get more comfortable with their roles. They get a little more chemistry going on. Obviously, upgrading to Coach Bud has made a huge difference for Milwaukee. So I think that's going to keep playing out for them pretty well here down the stretch. And I think they're going to contend pretty much down the entire stretch run. And depending on, breaks with health, as well as maybe some teams begin to overperform, underperform, come back down to earth. I can't rule it out quite yet. I know we were robbed of our first Kawhi Giannis matchup that both of them decided to take the night off. So next time that comes around, that's going to be definitely must-watch TV. So as much as I want to have faith in the Celtics right now, I think it's the Bucks and Raptors making the run for the top seed. But then again, it's still November, still extremely early. So I'd love to see these guys play it down the stretch.
Yeah, the top 4 seeds are going to be tough outs. The semifinals is going to be really, really fun to watch. Any matchup between Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee, and Toronto, those 4 teams are really, really good, and they're really skilled. So by the time the season ends, Boston should be in the thick of things.
Speaking of Boston, I did want to bring up a rumor that actually came up on the Twitter sphere a couple of days ago. Apparently, Terry Rozier is unhappy with his minutes right now, and this was a problem me and you discussed when we were doing our season preview, that right now there's not enough minutes to go around to keep everybody happy, and it's being said that Rozier isn't happy with the role he's been getting. He's not getting the run that he wants to that he feels he's due. But unfortunately, that's the problem with the Celtics right now, is that they have a lot of capable players, just not enough to share right now.
Yeah. Now, who would you ideally want back for Terry Rozier?
And I think that's what you look at is, okay, if you're going to ship out Terry Rozier, you want something of fairly equal value here. Well, if we're looking at Rozier, he is an overachieving, I want to say bench player at times. He can come off, give you a nice spark from time to time. Has a hell of a playoff run, but we haven't seen much of it at the start of this season. So if you're going to send Rozier out, I don't think you're going to get equal value in return. And say you do get another player in return, you might just have another similar situation to where, hey, why aren't I getting minutes? Hey, how come I'm not getting run? How come I'm only getting, 10, 12 minutes a night here?
Okay, but still, I think you're overvaluing Terry Rozier a little bit. So what if you go to Phoenix and Phoenix sends you with Josh Jackson, who can play 2 and 3?
Remember, Josh Jackson didn't even want to visit during the draft process.
Yeah, but okay, so Josh Jackson, then maybe like somebody like TJ Warren. I don't think Phoenix is particularly interested in keeping TJ Warren. I don't think that, like, if it's the right offer came along, it's like, yeah, sure, we'll throw TJ Warren in there. TJ Warren's, 15, 16, 17 point per game scorer. TJ Warren is meh 3-point shooter, but he's gonna go out there and get buckets. He's gonna defend. He's gonna get you 15 off the bench like easily.
I think they're gonna have to look for interior help, just because I don't know how much you can really rely on Aaron Baines to give you. And then Daniel Tice has been shut down for the foreseeable future with a foot injury. And then they still have the rookie Robert Williams, who, he does have a lot of upside, but there's still a lot of work to be done with him. So if I'm going to be flipping Rozier, I'm going to look to help my interior presence.
So what if you get an offer like Dario Saric?
I wouldn't mind an offer like Saric, because if you can have someone who has size but can still stretch the floor for you a little bit, you still want to open up things for Kyrie, Tatum, and the rest of the guys there. So I know the Celtics are a little still discombobulated with trying to get more roles kind of defined here. So
I would love Philly to go after Rozier. I think Saric for Rozier would be a good trade. Rozier, JJ Redick, Ben Simmons, Rocco, and Joel Embiid is a scary 5.
I don't think Philadelphia is going to be returning the Celtics call after the draft day trades.
Yeah, still, but I'm not.
It would be a move that would make sense for all the parties involved. It just so happens those two teams feel that they're each other's biggest competition right now, so they're probably.
If you're Indy, would you give up Miles Turner for Terry Rozier?
I think that would be a little bit of an overpay, only because I think Miles Turner can actually become a borderline all-star caliber forward. Not saying he is one yet, but he still can grow into something. But speaking of Indy, though, you do have to get Oladipo some help, just as a reliable second option.
Yeah, if you're Orlando, Nikola Vucevic for Terry Rozier. I think Vucevic is a better player than Terry Rozier, but Orlando has a surplus of centers. They got Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaacs, and Aaron Gordon, who can play the 5 and 4. And then, Jonathan Simmons, Evan Fournier, and then you add Terry Rozier to that, and you got an okay nucleus. And Vucevic is kind of surplus to demand. You're not going to pay him. And Vucevic goes to Boston, and it gives Boston something they really haven't had since and now Jefferson, like a reliable low post scoring threat.
That was Al Jefferson with one good knee.
Yeah. Vucevic has been turning in a very nice season. He's averaging 17 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. But the most important thing is he's shooting 45% from 3 on 2 attempts a game.
And I think that's one thing that's kind of been lost in Orlando's, malaise of the last, 7+ years. Vucevic has been a solid player for them, even though they really haven't shown a lot of production to come out of it. He's always been one of their better players, and I've always seen him in double figures each night. So if he can find a chance to get on a solid team, I think he can contribute and help, add a couple wins.
Vucevic's career average is 15 and 10 for his career. He's been in the league, 8 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. This is his 8th season. His career average is 15 and 10. That is a solid player.
Consistent double-figure players in the NBA are not always the easiest to find, and someone like Vucevic, who he remains healthy, he's starting to show that he can stretch the floor for you a little bit. He could be someone that could be on the move in February. Another bit of news nugget that came out this week: career-defining performance. Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets goes off for 48 in a win at home over the Celtics. So we talked about Jamal Murray, possibly helping lead Denver to take the next step and maybe make some noise in the West. We know they're getting Isaiah Thomas back here in the next couple of weeks or so, but right now Jamal Murray's been a pleasant surprise as a breakout candidate this year.
And Jamal Murray has all the talent in the world. He's a good size. He's 6'5", good handle, can pass. Played point guard in high school. They've been using him as a pseudo point guard in Denver, even though Jokic is the one that's initiating the offense. And he's a great shooter. He's been known for his shooting. And then against Boston, it really just was. Every shot went in. He was hitting like 1-foot floaters. He was hitting runners. He was going off glass. He was pulling up from three. He was pulling up off picks. Everything just went down, and he didn't really make difficult shots. He just made shots that were there. He took the shots that were there, and he made those shots. Everything just ended up going in. Now, do I think that's gonna happen again? Probably not. I would be shocked if he scored more than 40 in a game again. Maybe if he gets hot, but I don't see him as a 40-point game guy. Somebody that's gonna do that, every month, once a month or once a week to your back, just go off for that. Now, he's still a really good player, though.
And like we said, it was a pleasant surprise to see. He's got all the talent in the world, so it's just a matter of how much he can progress off it. He did end up trying a last-minute shot to go for 50, which didn't go over with Kyrie. Kyrie catches the missed shot and throws the basketball into the stands. We found out today that the fan returned the ball to Jamal Murray, so he'll probably get a nice little thank you gift on the side. But a question I did want to pose to you. Say you're in the stands we talked about a Cubs game, and you're catching opposing player's home run ball. Are you throwing it back?
100%. If it's a Cubs home run ball, I'm keeping it.
Oh, exactly. But when it's the visitor.
Yeah, if it's a visitor, I'm throwing it back. Now, with Kyrie being upset that he took the shot at the end, I actually have no problems with Jamal Murray taking that shot again. If I was Jamal Murray, I probably would have been like, yo, I'm going for 50, guard me. Instead of, trying to swoop in for a random basket or trying to just, heave a shot. But I don't have any problems. You play until the final whistle. You play until the buzzer hits 0. There was still time at the end of the clock, and, you shoot it.
My problem with it, if Kyrie all of a sudden it makes you upset, why didn't you play with a little more intensity when he was racking up, 25, 30, 35, 40? That's the one that gets you mad? Pick and choose your spots, Kyrie. Bad look, man. Bad look.
If you were mad, if you were really mad about it, him maybe not have him get 48 would have been the better way to handle it.
You would have done something about it, instead of waiting for the game to be over and essentially sending the ball into the stands. Looking at the transaction wire from this week, Tyson Chandler goes on the move. He gets bought out by Phoenix and is now a member of the Los Angeles Lakers and already paying a little bit of dividends for the Lakers. He debuted in the Wolves game where he actually made a few plays on defense. He's still a stalwart in the paint, so could be someone to help spell JaVale McGee or whoever they throw in the 5 spot in LA. But one thing that stood out to me about this story is supposedly LeBron made a few calls to get this through.
I don't know if he's allowed to do that. I don't know if that's tampering. It's 100% collusion. I don't know if it's I have no clue if anything's gonna come of it. But yeah, sources say he put in a phone call, and James Jones was like, "All right, yeah, we can get this done." So
Wait, is that the
I
same
guess
James Jones that ran with LeBron all those years?
yes, that is the same
Oh,
James
that is
Jones as the
100%.
GM.
No, that is collusion all the way through. Oh my God.
Yeah, that is 100% collusion. I just don't know if it's legal or not. I would doubt that it's not legal because collusion, that's not something you want to see. But I don't know. Tyson Chandler helps immensely. They're playing Kyle Kuzma at center. Kyle Kuzma has a worse defensive rating than Carmelo Anthony. They were playing LeBron James at center for a couple of minutes a night. Like there was some trying to piece together a center. Now that they have Tyson Chandler, they don't have to really experiment too much. You play JaVale McGee 25 minutes a night. You play Tyson Chandler 15 to 20 minutes a night, and maybe you throw in Kuzma for a couple minutes here or there if you really want to. But I think they're going to be a lot better with this. This is a very, very good pickup for them. Like, it improves them so much.
And I think that's where, the Lakers kind of needed a little bit more of a balanced presence in what basically Tyson Chandler gives them is, someone that's going to, for as much as LeBron doesn't like to play defense or how often we're seeing guys get blown by, I think Chandler's going to help, correct those issues a little bit, almost kind of like a defensive coordinator. So you look how smart someone like Rondo is on the offensive side. I think they're going to get something similar with Chandler as well. So they're definitely building a good IQ culture, even though some of these guys are a little bit out of their element right now. Like, still seeing some of these names all on the same team is a little baffling to me. Like, every time I see Lance Stevenson on the court for the Lakers, I have to giggle a little bit because he makes no sense for this team. But
yeah,
it's Lance still being Lance. It's the meme team all the way through, and now they're just going to provide us more basketball entertainment, social media entertainment. It's going to be great to watch. So, as if we need more reason to give the Lakers content, it is here and live.
I mean, it's going to be a hell of a ride. It's going to be a hell of a ride. That's all you can say with the Lakers. I don't know how. I really want to see the Twitter reactions at the end of the season when they're like 45-37 or something like that. It's just like mediocre. It's like, I still think the team is mediocre.
They are overachieving. I will say that in the sense of when LeBron signed, their expectations immediately shot up. Like, all ideas of realism and how this team was actually going to perform were kind of like tossed by the wayside of just because LeBron was here now, this is all just going to magically fix itself. Hasn't been quite the case.
Yeah, definitely.
Alrighty. Our next point I'm actually want to touch on is we've already seen one coach get the can in Ty Lue being fired from Cleveland. If you had to guess right now, who is the next NBA coach getting the axe?
Ooh.
Not to say I'd root for someone getting fired, but
Scotty Brooks. Scotty Brooks in Washington.
I mean, again, we touched on how much of a mess Washington is, so maybe Brooks is going to be the first fall guy to go down. It was going to go into my next point. As much as I'd hate to see it, I think it might end up being Luke Walton.
It might be Luke Walton. They don't have a particularly easy schedule the next couple of weeks, so they're currently 5-6. There's a chance that they're like 10-20 when it's all said and done, and 10-20, you might get the axe. Right now, 5-6, you can still save your season. Like, 5-6 isn't a bad start, at all. But 10-20, then you're asking much. Like, so you're playing the Kings, right? And the Kings have a winning record. You're playing the Hawks, so that might be a win there. You're playing the Cavs, that might be a win there. You get the Magic twice, but you also get Denver, you get Utah, you get the Miami Heat and Portland. looking at what is that stretch? That's 8 games. Like, there's a chance you go 4-4 in that game. That stretch, like, I definitely see losses at Denver. Utah is always a tough match. I definitely see loss at Miami. Portland always plays them stuff. So I mean, if you go 2-6 during that stretch, and maybe you underachieve and you lose a game to Orlando, or you lose the game to Sacramento, who's been on fire, or you go to Atlanta and Trae Young, gets 40, and then like, man, and then like the games after that, it's not easier. Like, the Pacers are a good team. You get to play the Mavs, Dennis Smith Jr., Luka Doncic. Those guys are good. Phoenix, Sacramento, or not San Antonio twice, Memphis, Miami, Houston, Charlotte, Washington, Brooklyn, the Pelicans. Like, that's not an easy schedule in the month of December.
And I don't think it goes without saying is that teams like to get up to play the Lakers when they come into their building. We know they have a strong national-wide fan base, so when they have them coming into their arena that night, I think teams want to step it up a little bit and kind of push back at, the Lake Show and, the circus LeBron brings with it. So, kind of college sports, how they travel, other teams want to get up for those games and really, make a name for themselves because they know there's going to be a little bit more eyes on their games than there normally would. I still think the Lakers are going to get everybody's best shot, even though they don't necessarily warrant it. But just from the namesake and the media circus that goes with it, everyone's going to be firing on all cylinders against them.
Yeah, it's just like when you play the Warriors. It's just like when you play the Warriors. Whenever you play the Warriors, the Warriors gets everybody's A game because they are the Warriors. Same thing when you play LeBron. When you play LeBron, everybody brings their A game because, especially when you're in LA, you're more than likely going to be in national television. So you want to make sure you show out on national TV against LeBron and the Lakers.
That is a very good point, sir. So just to kind of wrap things up here a little bit, this week we also had the drop of the new NBA City Edition uniforms. So seeing some new concepts, some new colors, some new styles. Any jerseys you like, for good reasons, bad reasons, which one's the best? I think we're in agreement that the new Miami Heat Vice jerseys just blow it out of the water.
Especially with the way they color their court as well to go along with it. Yeah, the hands down number one. The Wolves jersey was really good. Love the Wolves jersey. The nod to Prince. I kind of like the Hawks jersey because of it's just like white with the gold on it. Like, it's just super simple. Philadelphia's got a good jersey too, the all gray with the stars. Like, very, very nicely done. There wasn't many ugly ones. The Cavs one was kind of weird. I didn't really like it too much, but it's whatever. And I think Detroit's were a little too plain as well. There was just Motor City with black and gray. You can do a little bit better, but no, I think everybody did a really good job.
I definitely like the Bulls jerseys going with the 4 stars of Chicago. I always think that's a nice little homage they pay to their home city. Not a fan of the Lakers, black, purple, yellow, pinstripes.
Oh, yeah.
Not doing it for me.
The purple's ugly. A better shade of purple.
The Kings going with baby blue and red with the old school Royals colors. That one I actually thought they did a good job on. The Celtics pretty much kind of playing on them, white jersey with a little bit of green and gold touches to them. So didn't do nothing too crazy with those guys. Brooklyn going with the Biggie jerseys, like, can't do really.
That's a really good one.
No, I think that's a good touch. It's Biggie, Brooklyn. They go hand in hand together. There's a Captain America statue in Brooklyn.
Huh. He is a kid from Brooklyn.
He's also a fictional kid. I mean,
he's still Captain America.
It's kind of like Philly having the Rocky statue.
Yeah. So what does Boston have? Like a statue, like the Ben Affleck?
No, we have statues of Revolutionary War heroes, Bobby Orr, Bill Russell. Real people that contributed.
I mean, I guess you can put Matt Damon when he was Jason Bourne somewhere, like jumping off a ledge.
I think they just settle for their characters they play in Good Will Hunting, and that's where they kind of like draw the line. I mean, everyone was okay with The Departed. I mean, one of my personal favorite Boston movies is The Town. I can tell you, shot for shot where they made that movie at. If you love a good heist movie, it's The Town for me.
The Hurricane Heist.
Haven't seen it yet. That looked a little too sci-fi movie for
Yeah,
me.
no, I'm just kidding. The Hurricane Heist. Do not go out your way to watch that. Just don't.
Thank God. I was a little worried. I'm like, right, I know you like to give movie reviews, but Hurricane Heist, really?
Yeah, no, I didn't even try to give that one a shot. The premise just doesn't make sense to me.
All right, guys, there's a hurricane coming, but while there's a hurricane, we're gonna rob somebody.
I mean, sure, I guess so. Like normally, when natural disasters, when natural disasters happen, like that's normally the time to commit crime because there's a natural disaster. Like there's not really a lot of like law-abiding citizens going around when there's a hurricane. Like the thing might get destroyed anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and take these.
I always laugh at the people who are like, clearing out a Best Buy after a tornado hit. Like, well, we're not going to have power for 2 months, but when we do this, 70 inches is going to look great. Oh, by the way, my house doesn't have a roof.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
All right, just to put things back on track and put a bow on this, we need to think of a new name for this show. As much as I enjoy the 4-point play, I feel like we can do better.
Double team, slash and kick, pick and roll, pick and pop.
We promise we will decide on a new one before the next episode, but for now, I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode. You can follow the show on Twitter at Bleach Preach Pod. We're also on Instagram at Bleacher Preacher Podcast. You can give us a follow and a shout out there. I'm on Twitter at Jonathan_R. Rob
_BPP.
Where he will break down not only sports opinion, but the proper way to make steak and maybe a good movie opinion here or there. You can listen to the show via SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and all Apple podcast apps. We're on the Apple network now, so we can pretty much reach anywhere, everywhere. We've seen that we have listeners, that span not only the entire country, but the globe as well. I personally want to thank you guys for not only giving us a chance, but listening and helping us get to where we are today. We're going to keep pushing it out. We're going to keep rolling out some fun content for you guys. So again, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Peace.